Okay, that video is over. I have an update I want to say, but I'll say it in here. I talked about micro-stamping a few times. Micro-stamping is where, and look at my video on micro-stamping. Look at it. Maybe if I can put in a link, I'll put in a link. If I can't, then boom. Micro-stamping means they take the serial number of the gun and put it on the firing pin or the striker, and when the firing pin hits the casing, the little silver thing in the back is the primer, it writes the firing pin number on there. So that when they find the bullet casing, they know what gun it came off of. Well, problem with that is forensic scientists already have systems to do that. Forensic scientists have been studying ballistics for over 50 years, and they have their own methods to do it. So all it is another method. A method that's not reliable because they don't know a lot about it. And on top of that, the firing pin, the serial number on the firing pin writing on the cartridge tells us the exact gun that fired the bullet. But it doesn't tell us who fired the bullet. Majority of the time the gun is registered to the person the gun was stolen from. The criminal stole the gun, usually to commit a crime, and the serial number leads you back to the owner who had the gun stolen, not the actual criminal. Well, New York State's legislator, the Congress of New York State, approved micro-stamping. New York State Senate did not. Our state and a lot of states are run like many countries. We have a legislator and a Senate. Congress, Senate, same thing. The governor instead of president. Bill starts here, they vote on it, the governor signs it into law. The Senate overturned, the Congress voted for micro-stamping. New York State Senate voted against micro-stamping. And New York State Senate has the final say because there weren't enough votes to get it written into law. It has to have like 2/3 majority in order for it to be signed by the governor. Or whatever, but there has to be majority rule. So the Senate voted against micro-stamping and did not give a majority rule. Therefore, we do not have micro-stamping in New York. But here's the problem though. A, they were only going to approve micro-stamping for $12 if you could have $12 per gun. It's a lot more than that. You can't get fucking micro-stamping for $12. You gotta send it to a gunsmith. He's gotta take the gun part, pull the firing pin out, write on it with a special machine, put it back together and mail it to you. On top of that, it is scientifically impossible to microstamp. As of now, August 6, 2011, it is scientifically impossible to have microstamping. So they try to pass a law on something that doesn't exist anyway. It's kind of like saying you have to have a flying car. It's kind of like saying you have to have 4 eyes, you know? I mean, it's scientifically impossible. That's the update I wanted to say. Microstamping is not the law in New York. It was over. It was stopped. But I wanted to talk, and this is why I encourage people to join the NRA. The NRA is using their civil court rights to sue the government. Why? Okay, you've heard of Operation Fast and Furious. First and foremost, much of the stuff I'm talking about now has not been proven in court yet. When it is proven in court by a judge and stamped an official, then it's true. Until then, it is alleged. Okay? It is alleged that the United States government sold 2,000 firearms to Mexican drug lords. The intention was to trace the purchase to the drug kingpin. The drug fucker buys an AK-47 from an undercover agent pretending to be a gun dealer, an illegal gun dealer, and they follow the gun back to his boss, and now they bust everybody. And that has happened. A lot of cops will do that. A cop will have an illegal gun area in a basement of an abandoned building in a bad neighborhood. A guy will come in, give him cash, get a gun with the serial number scratched off, He'll leave. As soon as he leaves, the cop, disguised as a criminal, hits a button, gives a special signal. Uniformed cops come and grab the guy with the illegal gun. They do it illegal guns, they do it illegal drugs. It's legal. It's called the sting operation. It happens. It is alleged that this sting operation hosted by the federal government backfired. It is alleged by ATF agents. There are ATF agents who have come out publicly on television, in the newspaper, and said, I saw this. It's up to a judge to decide whether they're telling the truth or not, but that's what they said. It is alleged that 2,000 firearms, machine guns and shit, stuff that you can't buy, were sold to criminals in Mexico so that the government could track down the purchase. It's in theory a good operation, but if you have too many guns and too many criminals, they're hard to track. And it is more than alleged, it is 51% probable that these guns were used to kill law enforcement officers from Mexico and America. Let me check my time. Oh, I'm way under 6 minutes. Now, the government recently passed a law, which, funny as it may be, applies to free southern western states that love guns. If you live in a border state between the border of America and Mexico, I think it's Texas, Utah, Arizona, Nevada. If I'm wrong, I'm not good at geography, so if I'm wrong, fucking shoot me. Shoot me. Okay? The government said if you buy 2 rifles in a week, you have to fill out a federal form. And in my home state, if you buy 2 handguns a day, you have to fill out that form. I can buy a handgun on Monday, come back and buy another one on Tuesday, and not fill out that form. But if I go to my dealer and I say, yo, give me 2 handguns, he has to let me fill out a federal form. And cops have to fill it out. I was in his office picking up my Glock a couple of years ago, and he had a cop that was buying several guns, and the cop had to fill out the federal form. In theory, it's not a big deal. You buy more than 1 gun over X period of time, you fill out 1 more form. In theory, it's not that big of a deal. And obviously, the Second Amendment fanatics have the flaming torches and they're going, fuck you, government. Okay? In theory, it's not that big of a deal. But here's the problem. It is in response to Operation Fast and Furious. So what happened was this. The government, during a sting operation, sold illegal guns to criminals, which is actually good in theory because if you sell a gun to a criminal, you can charge him. It's not entrapment. Entrapment means the cop tricked you into doing something you would not have done. Okay? If you're paying cash for a machine gun with a serial number scratched off, you know it's wrong. And the theory is you would have bought the machine gun with the serial number scratched off for cash anyway. Therefore, it's not entrapment that a cop is undercover selling it to you. That's public knowledge. You can look that up in a book. You can read that in a book. It's public knowledge. You see it all the time. You see cops selling drugs. You see cops selling guns. You see cops sitting down with husbands that want to kill their ex-wives. And the cop says, I'm going to leave here and kill your ex-wife. And the guy says, okay. And the cop says, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Undercover operations are actually cool in theory. They really are. But they sometimes backfire. Now, the government had an operation. This is all alleged still. The government had an operation to sell illegal guns to criminals so they could bust them. They lost track of a couple of guns, and those couple of guns ended up killing people. So now, to solve this problem, the government is going to require gun dealers to have a federal form filled out for more than 2 rifles in a week. For more than 1 rifle in a week, I'm sorry. Whether or not this is Operation Fast and Furious is true is irrelevant. Whether or not it was a good idea is irrelevant. You have a problem here where you had a law enforcement operation that allegedly went bad. It hasn't been proven yet, but it allegedly went bad. And the government's response is to put more regulations on private citizens. And Wayne LaPierre said on the NRA's YouTube page yesterday, he said, these guys feed people to fucking lions. So he didn't say fuck, but these guys, these criminals, feed their enemies to lions. I don't know if they go to the zoo or if they have a fucking pet lion in the basement. If you feed your enemy to a lion, chances are excellent that a federal form is not going to stop you from getting a machine gun. 10:49. Okay, this is going to be real fast. I'm going to sum it up. So, now, the Brady campaign, yes, them. The Brady campaign, their mission is to prevent gun violence. The Brady campaign did not say one word, not one word, literally one word, about the guns from Fast and Furious getting lost in the mix and being used to kill people. They didn't say one word about it. But when the government said, now you gotta fill out an extra form, the Brady campaign said that's the way to go. That's the right thing to do. The Brady campaign said the government is right for forcing people to fill out another form when they buy 2 rifles a week. They literally didn't say one fucking word about the guns being lost in transition. You know what the thing is to do? If you're gonna do it, you gotta keep it small. Okay? If you have 2,000 guns, this is still alleged though. If you have 2,000 guns and you sell them to 2,000 criminals, it's entirely possible you'll lose track of some of them. Most local police, what they do, they keep it small. That way they can keep track of it. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. This is all still alleged. It hasn't been proven yet. But I just wanted to point out the hypocrisy of the Brady campaign being against gun violence and not saying one word about the operation, but applauding the government for making this for another form. Okay. Alright, we're done.